My grandfather finally got an upgrade in the game. Now, time to see if he can challenge me.
Hey everyone, Finity from Reality Skewed Gamers here. Hey everyone, Finity from Reality Skewed Gamers here, coming at you with another Good and Bad episode. Now, if you're not familiar with what Good and Bad is a weekly show where we go through the good and bad points of different games. Now, the main focus right now for us is Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and this week was jam-packed with some content. So let's go ahead and jump into this because this is going to be one busy week. We start out with the update to the Darth Vader kit. Now, Vader finally got an upgrade that makes him the legend in Star Wars that he is. He has a new ability called Merciless Massacre, which really makes him more like the Rogue One Vader that we saw, and we feared. This ability has been tested a lot, and there is a lot of potential interactions with this and trying to beat Galactic Legends and beating other teams. It's a very good kit upgrade. So overall, for this Vader upgrade, I have to give this a thumbs up.
Because this is good.
Now, while I am really high on this Vader rework, I am going to put a little bit of a caveat on here in that I am disappointed that the Vader and Luke changes, the release of Jedi Knight Luke and the rework of Vader happened after the Galactic Legend. It really feels like these should have been switched in the order so that Luke and Vader could have had their time in the meta before the Galactic Legends got released. Maybe a little bit of shine has gotten thrown off, but still a great kit for Vader, worth the investment. Really happy with this rework, and good job by CG on bringing this out towards the end of their Empire Strikes Back content month. The next thing that was released was the event calendar for July. Now, this one is neither going to get a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It is simply just informational for you. We see a lot of the events that are happening, but here's the only one key thing to look at. The daily login character for July is Clone Wars Chewie. Now, we don't know what to make of this. We've seen several months where the character of the month really has no impact on the game. And then this last one, we finally saw an impact with Jedi Knight Luke's release. So who knows exactly what this means, but just keep it in mind, Clone Wars Chewie is the character of the month. No idea what the impact is going to be, but this is just kind of a neutral information post by CG. The next thing was a content update post. Now, this one is once again going to be neutral because we're really not getting any additional insight one way or the other into the game. We see that this content update did include the release of the Darth Vader touch-up. We also got a shard shuffle bringing the Rebel Y-Wing into some of the packs, so you can now purchase it for crystals through the shipments or the data fleet packs. We again got the July calendar posted, but really the biggest thing is that we got some new bundles that can be purchased on the 4th of July. So next week, for those of you interested, this is going to be available, but we don't really know what the prices on this are, and so it's really hard to evaluate whether or not these packs truly have a value based on their cost. And so right now, this is just going to stay neutral. No thumbs up, no thumbs down, just straight up neutral because it's an informational post that we haven't had enough information to evaluate. So the next thing is the Kylo Ren AI bug. Now, this is based on Fives having a particular advantage against Supreme Leader Kylo, almost making him kind of unkillable with the AI that Supreme Leader Kylo has. You can see him under a Padme team, and it's all based on Fives and his interaction with Supreme Leader Kylo. Now, while I understand that this does need to be changed, I am giving this a thumbs down.
This is bad.
Now, the reason for the thumbs down is not because he doesn't need the change. Supreme Leader Kylo definitely needs a rework. The problem is they already did an update to Supreme Leader Kylo, and this update was back on June 3rd. So really, they had already known about this. They commented on the AI issues a while ago, and while they did the update on June 3rd, they didn't address the biggest issue, which is the Fives interaction. Now, this may go back to the fact that they don't have enough people to do a lot of beta testing or testing of these changes, which we really wish they have, but to now give Kylo a different AI buff really puts a bad perception in the community. We're hearing it right now where Kylo is getting 2 buffs and Rey users are asking what is the buff to Rey. Now, this happens every now and then. If the character is bugged, I do expect CG to fix this. But you should have fixed it the first time, not needed another go around. And now the question becomes, are they imbalancing Kylo because of 5s, and what is going to happen to Rey in comparison? Becomes difficult to make that assessment. We're also seeing that there is increased difficulty of the Rey events because of the changes in Supreme Leader Kylo. So the Supreme Leader Kylo has a greater impact than just the AI with 5s. We saw with the last one, the event became harder. Let's see what CG does here. But because they did not do this the first time around and just make one change to Supreme Leader Kylo, and now we're looking at 2, that is getting a thumbs down. But the biggest post of this week has to be the road ahead. Now, the road ahead is something we've all been waiting for and trying to figure out what is CG's next steps. And so when I saw this, as you guys may or may not know, whenever there is a post, I usually read it, I have my initial reaction, but then I take a step back and I try to make sure I think of it as objectively as possible and don't necessarily let my initial emotions take over. But I can tell you, when I first saw the road ahead post, I was kind of upset. There was really nothing of substance really in this road ahead. We got the idea that they're working on these galactic challenges. It is going to be this new event. All of this is great, but there is nothing about this particular post that couldn't have been generated in 2 hours of just making up an idea and with no timeline to think of where is the actual substance that lets players know, yeah, we are working on this event. Here is what we have so far. Right now, we have a whole group of details and whole group of guidelines as to what the galactic challenges are going to be, what their intentions are going to be, what the challenges are, but we're not really seeing any product of their work. But while I had that in my initial impression and I was really trying to figure out what this was going to be, I had to take a step back because I needed to see what exactly the road ahead has actually entitled in the past. So let's go ahead and take a look back at some of the roads aheads that we had before. So going back into 2019, the first one is from CG Carry, and this was back at the end of January. Now, when we look at this road ahead post, we can see that this one is going to be based on a lot of quality of life updates. But we see some of the products of their work. We see that the Jawas, in this case, had their names and the gears listed in the squad selection screen. So we had an idea about what they had worked on. We also see that this is also the update where they merged all of the buffs into one grouping. So they were able to showcase that there was just 7 buffs. And here is the button that you can press in order to do that. So players got an idea about what the product of their work was. We can then take a look at Carrie's road ahead from April of last year. And similarly, we see that there is some communication updates. They're working on a character cadence update, but now we get into the crux of the road ahead and we got a layout of the Geonosis battle TB. So once again, we see a work in progress concept, the WIP concept right here. We get a better feel for what exactly they have been working on. We also got some updates to Grand Arena Championships and all of these kinds. So this all worked out really well. Since Top Hat has taken over, we have seen a different style of road ahead. The first road ahead that Top Hat did was back at the end of July. And what we got were some images, but these are all generic artwork images. They're not stuff from in the game. So we got a generic Geonosis Separatist Might. We got some fun Star Wars pictures here talking about the unlocking of powers and talking more about relics. But again, we're not seeing the product of their works in this post. We're getting almost to some extent just some words about descriptions, and that's it, but not really seeing what this is engaging. We can then look at the most recent one prior to this one from Top Hat, and that was back at the end of November. Now, when we look at the end of November, what we can see is, again, it is a lot of text, it is a lot of telling us kind of what we can expect, but we don't get anything to sink our teeth into. Well, why do I mention this? Because Top Hat definitely has a different way of going about his road ahead than Carrie did. And I think for me personally, that is where a lot of kind of the misperception happened when I read Top Hat's first road ahead. Top Hat does not focus too much on the road ahead. Instead, Top Hat focuses on the state of the galaxy. So take a look at the state of the galaxy from January of this year. This is where we got all kinds of content about the update to Poe. We got an idea a little bit more about a new character and Galactic Legends. Let's now go to February. If we go to February, we can now see we get even more details about the Galactic Legend, and we see the 3D modeling of Rey. And this is something we mentioned a lot of because they have the increased artwork and the polygon budget and all that kind of stuff. We now see a work in progress for the Galactic Legend Rey being worked on. Moving ahead to the next one, which is March. When we look at March's State of the Galaxy, we actually see more about the Galactic Legends. We see the cinematic artwork that ended up, unfortunately, being the rock, paper, scissors, but we still see what they had worked on, and we see a storyboard. And then lastly, the last State of the Galaxy that we really have to sink our teeth into, which was April. And in April, we got the Mandalorian. While we got some generic kind of cookie cutter images, we did get the 3D model of Cara Dune. So, Top Hat has a different style that I think it took me a little bit of time to work on. And so, when I look at this road ahead now, and I take it from the context of what CG Top Hat likes to post, this is actually really good content. He gave us stuff about the challenges as the way that he normally does. He gives us a description, he gives us some just general words, but I have to say, with Top Hat kind of at the helm right now, I am actually looking a lot more forward to the state of the galaxies, more so than the road ahead, because Top Hat gives us more information to sink our teeth into during the state of the galaxies. But looking at the galactic challenges and what they could be, we also had a podcast with the Galactic War Report, where Kron came on and gave a little bit more description than the road ahead post about the galactic challenges. And I have to say, galactic challenges sound really good. A repeatable gameplay option that allows players to play things at different tiers based on their skill level, and not to mention that it does make it so that all characters are usable, but there are bonuses to particular ones. So the galactic challenges have a lot of potential in them, just depends how CG executes. So going back to the road ahead, while initially I was disappointed that there really wasn't that meat to sink my teeth into, and while I liked the galactic challenge concept, I came back, took some time, looked at the way Top Hat operates, and thought that this was actually a great road ahead post, given the way that CG Top Hat likes to communicate, and so I am definitely giving this a thumbs up.
This is good.
And again, I went a little bit of a roundabout way to explain how I got to my thinking, but it is important to keep into context who the person communicating is. Everyone has a different style, and CG Top Hat definitely focuses more on the state of the galaxy to give us information than what Carrie did when she focused a lot more on the road ahead. So with that, looking back on this week, I think this time is going to be fairly simple. The countdown down below is actually accurate. This week has been very good for CG. While I am disappointed that it took him a second attempt to try and fix Supreme Leader Kylo, I am definitely happy with the Vader rework. I'm very happy with the road ahead, and so I have to give this week a thumbs up. So overall, a thumbs up this week. Let's go ahead and flash that on the screen there. And we are in a good state in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I think the players were waiting for a road ahead that gave content to all players, and this is what we got. So let's hope that CG continues to move forward with this good momentum following the Jedi Knight Luke, the Darth Vader rework, and now the Galactic Challenge road ahead. Let's see what they build out here, and hope that CG does well. So thanks again for joining on this episode of Good and Bad. Leave some comments down below on what you think about this week's episode. There was a lot of things going on, and what do you think about my analysis of the road ahead versus the state of Galaxy under this kind of rule of CG Top Hat? And if you're not, join the Discord, and I will see you next time. Take care, guys.